A very simple, sweeping question. Do you think that Brexit makes Scottish independence almost inevitable?
I think Scottish independence will happen. So if you're asking me to use the term inevitable, I guess, yes, I would use that. I think we're on a journey that will end with independence. I think Brexit brings the issues around this very sharply into focus. That democratic deficit that we in the last 2 years, where Scotland, 62% of people in Scotland voted to remain in the EU, and yet in, 100, almost, under 200 days, we're going to face exit from the EU. It's hard to think of a better illustration of that democratic deficit than that.
Let's look a little bit further forward down the line to an independent Scotland. You set up a Scottish Growth Commission. And, of course, Scotland has a much bigger public deficit problem than England has at the moment, 8% to, roughly speaking, 2%. And your own Growth Commission said that to get Scottish public finances in order, that would mean a 4% squeeze over the next 10 years. That's going to feel to a lot of Scots like you vote for independence, you have another 10 years of Scottish austerity. Well,
just let me be clear about what the Scottish Growth Commission actually said. It said that a future Scottish government in an independent Scotland should explicitly and firmly reject the austerity approach that we've seen in the last few years. We should grow public expenditure in real terms. We should have fiscal rules, but we should not become a prisoner of those fiscal rules. We should put growing the economy and growing public spending as part of that.
Squeeze, didn't it?
It talked about growing public spending explicitly. The other point I think that is really important here is you talk about Scotland's fiscal position and how that is relative to the rest of the UK. That's a feature of how we are governed right now. It's not a reflection of what life would be in an independent Scotland. Part of the argument for independence is to have the powers to grow our economy faster and more sustainably, to grow the wealth of the country and to steward that wealth in the interests of everybody across the country.
There's an old phrase, why look in the crystal ball where you can read the history book? You've been in power for 11 years now. Why is it that after 11 years, Scottish confidence and support for Scottish public services is at its lowest ever position?
And still at a very, very high level.
But low and going down at the moment.
Public services across the whole of the UK have had a very difficult time because of austerity largely imposed on Scotland by the UK government.